What's going on, everybody? Perry up in the front, and we just got out of one of my most anticipated films of the year, brought to you by A24. That's directed by Voldemort Johansson. Voldemir Johansson.
Voldemort Johansson.
Voldemort Johansson. And it's obviously Lamb. And as I said, this is a film that I was highly looking forward to for obvious reasons. It's a A24 distribution, and it's an Icelandic film, right, Perry?
Yes.
And the trailer it's weird because the first time I saw this trailer, I thought this could be like really great or just awful, just because of the kind of absurd concept. But I was just captivated by how beautifully shot it was, that I was like, I have to go and watch this film. And just coming right out of the gate with my thoughts, I really enjoyed this film personally. It's definitely not going to be everybody's cup of tea, even for film lovers. I could see film lovers coming out of this film saying that it was just okay or even awful. This is definitely going to be a divisive film, but I did enjoy it quite a bit, and it's definitely a slow burn. I can see a lot of people having problems with the pace, but for me, honestly, I found the vast majority of this film pretty engaging, despite it having a really slow pace to it. And again, a lot of it has to do with how it's shot, how it's directed, and just the way that this film takes its time with the story and narrative, I personally found pretty effective. And as I said, it does revolve around like a really ridiculous concept. That kind of reminded me of Titan a little bit. And it's weird because they both kind of have to do with like pregnancy in a way. But yeah, it just kind of revolves around this really like out there, like beyond logic concept. But I think this film handles it pretty well, and it kind of refreshingly takes a more literal approach to it, and you definitely get an answer to its kind of absurd concept, and that can't, like, honestly, that kind of subverted what I expected out of this film, because especially for an art house film, you kind of expect something like that to be left ambiguous. But this film, I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't any kind of, like, I'm not saying this film answers everything, but in terms of the actual concept itself, it does attempt to answer it, and I found it refreshing, and I actually liked that it went that approach, because the concept is something that I feel like needs answering, because it's taken so literally throughout the film. But I've been rambling for too long, but I'll dive more into it later. But I really enjoyed this film quite a bit, but I would caution moviegoers, especially if you're going out to just see a horror film. It's not what you would expect, and it definitely takes its artistic risks in a way that I could see a lot of people not liking. But that's all I'll say. Go ahead, Perry.
Yeah, I wouldn't even describe this film as a horror film. I can't say I enjoyed the film. There were certainly things I liked about it, but to be honest, it left me underwhelmed, and in lots of ways, it felt like a missed opportunity. I like the fact that they played the wild, like Carlos says, this film has a very wild concept, and I like that they played it straight. It's just, for me, the story is a bit too skeletal, and I don't think it justifies its hour and 45 runtime. I think, like, with the film like Zola, like, it's only an hour and 24 minutes. Like, that has a very skeletal story too, but it doesn't overstay it doesn't overstay its welcome the way I feel like Lamb does, because I did feel and typically I really like slow burn films. Like, I love Stalker, I love Jean Dillman, but with this I definitely felt the pacing quite a bit. I didn't find the main couple particularly that interesting, especially since this film deals with a lot of themes like grief, loss, and despair that have just been dealt with more in a more interesting manner in other A24 films or other recent art house films in general. And what's funny is, like, this film has an insane concept, but I feel like I've seen, like, so many insane movies, or enough insane movies this year, where I feel like kind of numb to it. Like with Titan, like that movie is balls to the wall insanity. So it's like seeing a movie with this wild concept, it doesn't even faze me, you know? Like, I'm just so jaded at this point. Not to mention Malignant and Annette, which was very fantastical and very crazy movie. Yeah, I mean, the cinematography is great. I'm not even gonna dog on it, but I kind of expected that because Valdemar Johansson, he has experience with being a cinematographer. Like, that's what he did before, you know, obviously he turned director, and obviously this being his debut feature. So I expected the cinematography to be gorgeous, and I mean, the cinematography is great. I'm not gonna dog the film on that. And I would say the directing is competent, the acting is competent. It's like everything about this movie is fine, but this film doesn't do anything spectacular other than the cinematography. I guess I just wanted the film to feel like it was building towards something, and at moments it did, but then it would kind of shoot itself in the foot. Like, the film does introduce a third character. I'm not going to say who that character is or what his relation is to the main couple, but he felt wasted. Like, instead of doing something really interesting with the character, it's like they don't do anything with him. They set up scenes of intrigue with his character, and they literally just do nothing with the character. It's like, why even introduce that character if you're just gonna tease that this is gonna lead towards more of a conflict, more internal conflict between the character, when it doesn't do any of that, you know?
I personally liked that his character was there, mostly because it gave the audience like some clarity in terms of like how real is this actually, like you, because the whole time you're thinking, okay, it does that classic like is it in their head, is it not kind of thing. And I feel like when the third character gets introduced, it kind of lays that to rest. And not only does it serve in that way, but I feel like he also is like, he's there to also contrast with the main characters as well, and kind of expose certain motives and flaws with the main characters as well. And I feel like it's there for like more like thematic purposes than it is for like narrative purposes. But I do understand at the same time that like his character kind of comes and goes, and there's nothing really that you don't really get like much of a payoff with his character or anything.
And I do understand his character was to kind of be like the surrogate for the audience and trying to like make the audience understand like what's really going on. But again, they could have done so much more with him. Like I said, I feel like there are scenes in this movie where it's like, oh, interesting setup, but the payoff is just nothing. Like, they could have done so much more with this concept, and it just feels kind of wasted. I did like the ending. Strangely enough, it felt abrupt, even though this film felt like about 20 minutes too long.
I will say the film is like too long. I could say you could take away like 15 minutes, even maybe 20 minutes of the movie, and you would have got the same effect.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of like the third act, I'm surprised that you actually liked it.
Yeah.
I thought you would like find that cringe or just like...
No, I was into it. I was like, oh wow, okay, so this is what we've been building towards. At least it has like a satisfying ending, even if I wasn't like really that invested the first two acts of the movie. I would say there was moments of intrigue, but overall I wasn't that engaged by the story or the characters.
I mean, this is definitely a simple film. Like you said, it's skeletal, but for me, I kind of enjoyed the simplicity of this film. I kind of liked that it didn't feel the need for moments to build up to something big. Like, it made it feel more like, because it's kind of a weird thing to say for a batshit movie like this, but it made the film feel more like rooted, and it didn't. I like that it didn't feel like, in order to engage me, that it had to have everything lead up to something big, and but at the same time, you know, I'm not gonna lie, there are times where I'm with Perry, like I kind of did want a little bit more out of a scene, because he's right. This film, it takes its time, and then it has moments where it builds its tension, and then it just kind of goes back to that simple, like, world building kind of thing that you know, you don't really get much like real honest tension for a while, and then you get it again, and then it kind of just goes away for a long time, and only until like the third act you get something that's like, again, a bit abrupt, but it's out there, but it gives you something, and I'm glad that it did. I could see people finding it silly and dumb. I could see people like laughing out loud at it, and not to mention laughing out loud during a lot of different parts of this film. But for me, it like, a lot of that worked, and especially the lamb in this film, like, I don't know, it's weird, but it's kind of cute, and in the third act I felt actually some level of emotion, and a lot of that is how the lamb is incorporated into the film. But yeah, were you gonna say something, Perry?
You see, you would think I would have a problem with that, but it's like, that's not what I have a problem with. It's like I said with the scenes, it's like they would have a scene happen, and then you would never really see the consequences of that scene, particularly with the third character that's brought in. And then there, it's like, again, why would you have something that could literally affect the relationship of these three characters, have a scene that you know, that someone should react, someone should say something after experiencing what they've experienced, but yet they don't, you know? They don't. For example, damn, I really don't want to get into spoilers.
But I mean, he does react. It's just like later, like, you know, it's not like he doesn't react like right then when I mean, he reacts. He just doesn't verbally say anything about the obvious situation.
Not always, though, and not even just to do with you know, the lamb aspect of the film, but to just do with like how other characters are behaving. It's like, please just say something. It's like, I get that the character is supposed to be kind of a surrogate for the audience, make the audience understand what they're saying. It's like, well, then say what we're thinking, you know? I get the film was trying to be restrained, but at certain points, it's like, you do, like, anybody in that situation would naturally want to react a certain way, but they don't. They just, like, scene happens, there's not much consequence from it, and then just keep moving forward. It's like, you don't tell a narrative that way.
I will say that I wasn't particularly fond of the two main characters' reaction to the lamb. I thought that could have been done better, because they acted like abnormally like rational and normal to it. And I mean, they definitely, like, the filmmaker definitely wanted to go for something that was like, oh, they have, like, you know, they're shocked and taken back, but it just wasn't enough.
Right.
Like, to experience something that's that abnormal, like, the reaction needs to be a bit more severe, in my opinion. And I hate to be that person who's like, oh, you know, because I always say people always react to things differently, but when it comes to something like that, I feel like the reaction is a bit universal.
Right.
And I just felt like I wanted more out of that kind of reaction. So, like, I'm with you on certain things. It's just overall, like, I was particularly fine with the tension building and, you know, certain things not really leading up to something bigger. And I just overall enjoyed the simplicity of this film, the atmosphere, the camera work. The direction to me was actually really great.
It was fine. I thought it was competent. I mean, he's more of a cinematographer than he is a director. I mean, to be honest, like, the most you got the characters to emote, besides maybe like the third act, was when they were watching Schmoople, you know? They were watching a sports game. They were watching Schmoople. And when the guy jumps on the ball, crushes it, and Smoople, they're freaking out.
Smoople!
That's the most reaction you got out of them the entire movie. It's like, emote a little bit more.
I could see
Please.
that. It's just I felt like it was definitely going for like a tone. It was going for an atmosphere. But I do agree that I think the acting and the reactions overall could have been directed better.
Yeah, it's like, I get playing shit straight, but maybe this film played it a little bit too straight, if that makes sense.
But I think in terms of like aesthetic direction and atmosphere, I think it's like really top-notch stuff, like in my opinion.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna dog on it for its cinematography.
And the acting good. It's just,
the acting's competent. It's fine.
I don't know.
I wasn't as emotionally invested. Like, there's nothing about the acting that got me so emotionally invested. Like, when I watch Hereditary, I'm like, my God. Toni Collette's like, wow, I'm so invested because Toni Collette is just giving such an amazing performance. And I'm not saying like the performances, I needed it at that level. I just wanted them to emote a little bit more.
I can see that. And you do get like something like in the third act, you're like finally like an emotional release.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I can totally get that. I guess it's just, those things didn't really bother me like that much, but I can see it bothering a lot of people because I think it is a valid criticism.
Because in terms of like, I know it was playing it straight and it was not always trying to build towards something, but it was moving towards a conclusion. And it does bother me that it's like, when it's building to something, it feels like the film's padded with him just doing like mundane chores. And I get that there's supposed to be a juxtaposition between this wild concept and the mundanity of their lives, but they lean too far into the mundanity. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you literally get like 3 scenes of them like on a damn tractor, just doing farm work. It's like, God, why do we need this? We could have gotten like 1 scene and that would have been fine, but no, we have to have like 5 scenes of them doing farm work. Like, why do we need this? I don't know. I'm not a very impatient person, but it was just something that bothered me because I do hate when a film overstays its welcome.
Yeah,
it doesn't use its time to the best, like it doesn't use its time as well as it could have. We could have gotten more character development as opposed to we need to see them on a tractor doing farm work.
That's fair enough.
But I'm rambling. Let's do ratings.
Yeah, I think Perry has pretty valid things to say. Again, it comes down to like whether or not that kind of stuff is really gonna like, because the thing is with me, that stuff didn't take me out of the film anyway. I was like still very sucked into everything that was happening. But I do agree that it wouldn't have hurt to get things that were like a little more, maybe a little bit like diversity instead of like focusing so much on like atmosphere and stuff like that. But either way, I enjoyed this film quite a bit. It was a little bit underwhelming, and I'll give it a very soft 7.
Oof.
Yeah, this film I thought was impressive in a lot of different ways, but this is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. There's going to be a lot of things about this film that people aren't going to really like.
It's weird because a film with such a weird concept, such a wild concept, it's like I feel like this isn't going to stick with me as much as it should. Maybe because I'm just too jaded. I've seen too many, insane movie, especially this year. But I really, like I said, I love the cinematography, and I thought the direction was fine and didn't really blow me away. I just feel like this was a missed opportunity. I'm gonna have to give it a soft 5 out of 10. Damn, I just think it's pretty mediocre. I'm sorry.
Soft 5, bro.
Yeah, soft 5. Oh, dude, we haven't been this divided since our Saint Maud review.
That hurts, bro.
We haven't been this divided since our Saint Maud review, and that was months ago. That was like the beginning of the year.
Damn, dude, that's so fucking low.
You know what? Mid-5. I'll make it a mid-5. Mid-5 it is.
I'll take a mid-5. I feel a little bit. I feel a little bit better with the mid-5.
Yeah, soft 5's a little too harsh. I'll go mid-5.
I don't know how many of you at this point has seen it, But if you have seen it, I would love to hear your thoughts, because I honestly don't know what everybody's going to think about it, but I do know that it's going to be a divisive one. But yeah, so please let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on this film. And we also have a review for Titan, by the way, so if you haven't checked that out, please check that review out.
Or Titan. Some people have been saying it.
Teton.
Teton. People have been saying it really weird. And also, Carlos just dropped a 10,000 subscriber Q&A. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
So if you haven't checked out that Q&A, make sure to check that out as well.
Thanks, Perry, for the nice little shameless shield there.
See, I can do it.
You can do it. I can.
Yeah.
You can do it. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching this video. If you really enjoyed what we had to say about Lamb, please give it that thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content. Peace.